Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously we have picked up in Unova a few years later. Not sure if it's 1 or 2, I think it was 2. I can't quite remember, but a lot has changed, especially since Black has disappeared. Sharon has become a teacher at the Aspiratia, I still don't know how to pronounce that, Aspiratia City Trainer School, a boarding school for boys and girls. We see one boy, Blake, who's a bit of a ladies' man, break up with his girlfriend. We're also reintroduced to Leo, who took on Sharon in the Pokemon League all those years ago. We have the transfer student Whitley, and during a competition between the boys and girls of the school, Blake and Whitley come out on top, receiving a Pokédex each from Bianca, although Whitley's a bit apprehensive about it. Why? Because she's a former member of Team Plasma, the young girl we saw at the end of the previous story arc who received the fungus. She was sent to this school in order to leave her life as a member of Team Plasma behind, though she still clings to some of the ideals of Team Plasma. We also have it revealed when Looker returns to Unova after fruitlessly chasing down the 7 sages. He's come to work with a new partner, who turns out to be Blake, codename Black Number 2, and Looker's superior. Blake informs Looker that Team Plasma has stood divided. There are those who have gone along with Ghetsis' more maniacal schemes, but there are still those who believe in the teachings of N and have been operating against this new form of Team Plasma. We also have Chirin talking to Drayden, apparently former gym leader, having given it up to Iris, talking to Chirin about the legendary Pokemon Kyurem, the remnants of when Reshiram and Zekrom split, and how that might come into play somewhere down the line. As Blake and Looker start to begin their investigation, the city comes under attack by Genesect, the secret weapon of Team Plasma. As they pursue, they end up finding out that it is under control by Colress, a dark researcher and a new member of Team Plasma. No, the new leader of Team Plasma, with Looker recognizing him as Hoodman from the Pokemon League a few years ago. As they take on the Pokemon, Blake finds out that Genesect is simply being controlled by Colress, and so, thanks to development by Black's supplier? It's hard to know, dude named Magician who makes Pokeballs, Blake is able to successfully capture Genesect. Blake had actually found out information about Genesect previously by investigating Laboratory P2, with the knowledge that some valuable data has been entrusted to a young girl who left Team Plasma, which is why he's been getting cozy with many a girl during his mission, more than likely that girl being Whitley. But Whitley is a bit dodgy, very panicky, and a bit apprehensive about getting too close to other people. So how will Blake factor into this? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, let's begin. Adventure number 5, Pokédex Lecture. Who's that Pokemon? Fungus. We pick up with Chirin teaching his class, saying, and so, to review, X defense, X speed, X attack, X special defense, X special attack. I explain how to use all of them effectively today. Don't forget what I taught you. You'll be learning about berries this afternoon. Everybody gather in the school field now. The kids say, all right, as they gather up their materials and head out. 2 girls say, where should we go for lunch? How about the cafe under the lookout? But Blake starts to go into analysis mode, thinking to himself, any ordinary class, like any other day. An ordinary class like any other day. School hasn't taken much notice of last night's incident in town. At least that's how it seemed. Anyhow, he then looks to the Pokédex he was given, thinking, this device I got yesterday. The Pokédex. Do I have to report how much data I've gathered on a regular basis? That would be a drag. Anyway, judging by yesterday's battle, I'm probably going to need more Pokemon on my team. I've got to catch some Pokemon strong enough to team up with my Dewott. This Pokedex might come in handy for that. He then looks over as Whitley passes by, saying, let's go back to our dorm room to eat lunch. Now she's saying it to her fungus, I think. Blake strikes on his pack, saying, well, thinking to himself, and it's the perfect excuse to approach her. He comes up behind Whitley, saying, Whitley, how's the data gathering coming along? Whitley shies away, saying, I'm not very good with stuff like that. Blake says, you're not a techie nerd? Whitley says, no, that's not what I meant. God, she always reacts like he's about to assault her. Blake shows off the Pokedex, saying, hey, I was going outside to gather some data during our lunch period. Why don't you come with? Whitley says, but I was just about to... But, Blake, very grabby, grabs her by the wrist, saying, I know a good location. We can eat together after collecting the data. Whitley says, Blake says, come on. Our lunch period isn't long. Let's go. Dragging her outside, they come to the corner of a cliffside. Whitley saying, you've gone pretty far from the school grounds. What makes you think this is a good place to catch wild Pokemon? Blake says, no reason. Whitley questions, huh? Blake turns, saying, sorry. Just wanted to get better acquainted with you, Whitley. It must be tough being the new girl in class. I thought I'd help you feel at home. You don't mind, do you? Whitley says, Blake says, so, let's gather some data for the Pokédex together. Whitley says, Suddenly, Fungus, fed up with Blake's advances, jumps on his hand and starts to puff up, blowing out an attack, I think? But Blake manages to flip out of the way. Just clear out of the way. A full-on somersault several, like a yard away. Whitley thinks to herself, wow, he's so coordinated. Blake says, sorry, I didn't mean to be so forward. I seem to have worried your little bodyguard there. Blake then switches into his thought mode, saying, it was powerful in yesterday's battle training. I better be careful. But suddenly there's a rustling in the tall grass. Blake says, what the? Your bodyguard's sweet scent attracted a wild Pokemon. Come on, Whitley, pull out your Pokedex. Whitley does just that, but as she daintily holds the Pokedex apprehensively, she thinks, I'm sorry, Anne. I'm going to use my Pokedex. Blake tells her, it won't explode if you turn it on, you know. Oh, what the frick? Whitley says, I know, that's not why. But suddenly, out of the tall grass comes Keldeo, or Keldeo. I'm still very shaky about how I should pronounce it. What you doing out here, bud? Oh, man. Blake immediately has a serious look in his eyes. Whitley is perplexed, and Keldeo is at the ready. Blake tells Whitley, get going then, use your Pokedex. There, that's the first thing you have to do whenever a Pokemon appears. See that Pokemon's name on the screen? That shows what Pokemon you've encountered. Whitley says, Keldeo? Blake says, yeah, looks like we met a super rare Pokemon. Oh, jeez. Only for Keldeo to immediately bring out his sword and go on the attack. Oh, does it maybe recognize her as a member of Team Plasma? Jeez, though. Blake manages to pull Whitley out of the way as Keldeo slices clear through a tree. My God. And I think Keldeo goes to run away. But because of the way that they dodge, Blake is only just barely able to grab onto the root of the tree on the cliffside, but he hits the cliff wall hard. Oh! And because of the weight of the two of them, he slides down the vine and it tears up his hand. See, now I'm starting to understand why a lot of protagonists wear gloves. Or at least in the palm of their hand, because God, there's the blood just pouring out of his hand as he strains to hold both himself and Whitley. Blake calls out, you all right, Whitley? Whitley, barely conscious, says, fungi. Blake says, you're fungus? Looks like it fell off the cliff. Oh yeah, it hit the ground. It's not a long way down, but it's long enough. Whitley begins to struggle, saying, I have to help it. Blake says, hold on, I'll carry you down there. And he slowly makes his way down the vine, which is probably no easy task, all things considered. But as he makes it to the bottom, he says, here we are, Whitley. But as he sets her down, he says, oh, she fainted. As Whitley quietly calls out to Fungi, how we flash back to the day. Oh no, it's not the day when they left. I guess it's a Team Plasma meeting years ago. Whitley saying, so many Pokemon have been liberated today. Her mother saying, you mustn't touch them, Whitley. Whitley says, okay, Mom. There's a Pokeball over there. Why? This is unforgivable. Pokeballs are bad. They trap Pokemon and steal their freedom. That's what N told me anyway. Hold on a sec, I'll get rid of it. I'm scared to even touch it. But as she picks it up, it is fungus. Whitley freaks out because it's squishy. Oh, okay, that's rude? Okay, yeah, rude. Rude walks up saying, that's a Pokemon called Fungus, Whitley. Whitley says, what? She then looks to the fungus she dropped saying, oh no, I just threw N's friend away. She picks it up saying, I'm sorry. What should I do now, Rude? Rude says, take care of that Pokemon, just like the others. Whitley says, oh, all right. Nice to meet you, Fungi. Rude says, now, you mustn't give it a nickname. The Pokemon here will all be released into the wild sooner or later. We'll free them when N becomes a hero and the ideal of Team Plasma is fulfilled. When our mission is complete, if you name it, it'll be harder for you to part with it later. Do you understand, Whitley? Whitley says yes. Pick up in present day where she's still calling out to her fungi. Blake listens to this, and as he goes over to the fungus, he says, Fungi? Huh? As the fungus wakes up, mean mugging Blake, Blake says, calm down. Don't use sweet scent on me. You don't want to place her in danger again, do you? The fungus seems to understand as Blake puts it on his shoulder, saying, stay put until we get back to school. As he arrives, all the girls who are working in the yard are aghast as Blake arrives saying, sorry I'm late, carrying Whitley. Yuki passes out saying, carrying your bride over the threshold. Oh my goodness. Another girl says, Yuki, eek. Sharon comes up saying, what happened? Blake says with a smile, we were gathering data for our Pokédexes and a wild Pokemon attacked us. The girls say, oh, your hands are covered in blood, Blake. No, don't die, Blake. Sharon questions, are you all right? Blake says, yeah, I'll bring her to the infirmary to get looked at. The girl says, well, I'll go too. I'll help you with the first aid. I'll wrap the bandages around you. Whitley comes to, saying, ow. She then thinks to herself as she regains consciousness, looking up at Blake. You rescued Fungi and me. He's smiling even though he's injured. He's just like N. And he befriended the legendary black dragon-type Pokemon. She then says, no, as she flails out of Blake's grasp. And she runs away saying, I can walk on my own. I'll go to the infirmary by myself. Later that night, Blake is sitting in his room, saying, Duuz, what do you think of that Pokemon, Keldeo? Right, I thought its sword was impressive too. Duuz makes another gesture, Blake saying, yeah, I agree. Oh, Duuz points to its eyes, and Blake says, yeah, I agree. The look in its eyes, it seemed very determined. Okay, so before Duuz made a slashing motion for the sword, Blake says, on the other hand, that girl. Duuz points to its Pokeball, Blake saying, you noticed that too, huh? The whole time she's been at this school, I've never seen her put her Pokemon inside a Pokeball. Not once. Blake then looks at an itinerary on his desk. He says, we have a field trip next week. After that, the choir tournament and school festival. I'll use those events to get closer to her. Okay. School event schedule. Interesting. Alright, adventure number 6, movie Panic. Who's that Pokemon? Bullaby. We pick up at the Asperatia City Trainer School, where Leo is talking to, what was his name again? Already forgot. Hugh. There we go, Hugh. Leo says, we're going on a field trip today. And don't forget the choir tournament and school festival are coming up. He says, don't get too excited, Leo. Remember what Mr. Charon said? This field trip is academic, which means it has to be connected to Pokemon battles somehow. As Charon shepherds the kids onto the bus, Whitley questions, where are we going, Mr. Charon? Charon says, I'll tell you as soon as we get on the bus. The other girls say, oh, you're such a tease. Another says, I want to go to the market in Trifel City. Another says, let's go to Join Avenue. Hugh says angrily, this isn't a shopping trip. While Leo says, but thanks to those three, Whitley is fitting in just fine. As Hugh sits in his seat, he says, but they're distracting her from improving her Pokemon battle skills. And as Leo goes to sit, he looks around saying, but where's Blake anyway? As Blake enters the bus, Leo waves saying, hey Blake, you could sit here by me. But he then immediately sits by Whitley saying, is this seat taken, Whitley? May I? Leo blushes saying, he's so smooth with the ladies. While Hugh just pouts. One of the girls says, lucky Whitley. While Whitley says, want to swap seats with me? As Sharon gets on the bus, he says, Hurry up and take your seats, we're leaving. But Whitley says, not yet. Well, one of the girls then says, Mr. Charon, tell us where we're going. Charon says, for today's field trip, we're going to Pokestar Studios. He was taken aback, saying, movie studio? What's that got to do with Pokemon battles? As the bus takes off, we see Looker on the rooftop, watching with his binocular goggle vision thingies. As he says, Inspector Blake has departed. Its current target is that girl named Whitley. Team Plasma seems like a unified organization working under their ideal of Pokemon liberation. But as it turns out, there was dissent amongst their ranks. Now that their king N has left them, a new leader, Chorus, has been appointed. Chorus has been occupied inventing a new technology he's named the Chorus Machine, after himself. It's designed to control the power of Pokemon. There's always one of those in every game. That was the divisive issue behind the scene. The opposition developed means to neutralize the effects of the Chorus Machine, and the results of that research were secretly entrusted to a Team Plasma girl who was only 10 years old 2 years ago, which means she's 12 now. Yeah, 2 years ago. Okay, there it is. And the inspector is working undercover in this school to find that girl. As Blake continues to try to cozy up to Whitley, with Fungus trying its best to push Blake away, Blake thinks to himself, I've investigated all the 12-year-old girls here, and I've crossed off everyone on the list whose relatives never had any contact with Team Plasma, so the only remaining suspect is this transfer student. While Whitley thinks to herself, but now, I've made friends in this class, but I can't get used to this weirdo. Hope we reach Pokestar Studios soon. Help me in. Oh boy. As the bus comes to a halt, Sharon tells the student, here we are. And then as they disembark, a man with a very strange looking hairdo says, welcome students. Oh god. Oh god, that's so garish. I am Stu Dio, the producer of Pokestar Studios. I made reservations for all of you. Enjoy. This is Pokestar Studios. Oh, my camera froze. There we go. Oh, man, I hope that wasn't too long that it was frozen. I really need to save up for a new camera. This is Pokestar Studios, film studio. You can make a short film here and even play the main character. Yeah, that's the new mini game of Black 2 and White 2, right? I don't really know the concept of it all, though, or how it all works. I know that Sabrina and Bryson became movie stars for this. I wonder if we'll see Sabrina here. That would be cool. I wonder how they'd explain away Sabrina becoming a movie star in this world. Studio says, Stu Dio says, this is the Pokestar Theater. You and an audience can watch the films you made here. See, I thought White would have had some involvement in this, but I guess I don't really know where it's located. Shit, I even would have thought, shoot, I'm blanking on her name. Elisa would have been involved with this. Stu says, feel free to take a tour around the dressing room, makeup room, or prop room. Have fun today. Whitley walks off, thinking, phew, I finally got away from him. While Blake follows, thinking to himself, she sure is tough to get close to. Whitley then joins with the other girl, saying, Yuki, Mayu, Yuko, can I join you, please? I guess I should probably learn their names. Maya is the rather plain-looking one. Yuko is the one who dresses like a sun current. And Yuki is the one with the hat. Yeah, I'll try to remember that. Yuko says, of course. If you want to make a film, you need to choose a script. They say, ooh. Yuki says, which one should I choose? Love and Battle sounds good, but so does Everlasting Memories. Maya says, what about you, Whitley? Whitley says, oh, I'll just be a spectator. Yuko says, come on, let's star in a film together. Oh, I just talked about her, and there she is. A figure says, I can see you're hesitant. I'll help you choose, says Sabrina. Oh, and she hands, her... an actual Pokemon I like. Hold on. Her Alakazam hands Whitley one of the spoons of destiny. Oh man, I got so excited by this. As Whitley says, no, I'm not. But once she's handed a spoon, it twitches and bends to one of the pictures. Sabrina says, You'll be guided through this script. Come on, I'll take you to hair and makeup. Seriously. I want to know so much about Sabrina and how she ended up in this position, both in the games and here. Like, what is the explanation for this? And just the change up of her overall outfit now, too. And Sabrina's journey throughout the series has been such an interesting one. Yuki says, it's that famous actress. Yukio says, Sabrina. While Maya says, wow, Whitley? Whitley is just dumbfounded. Oh, we pick up at the, what is this, a green screen area? Oh, I caught a glimpse of Bryson, man. As Sharon arrives with the other girls, he says, oh, Whitley is going to make her film now. While Hugh says, Mr. Sharon, I don't get it. What's the connection between making films and Pokemon battles? I understand the purpose of the choir tournament. There's a Pokemon move called Sing, and I can see how your battle skills would improve if you develop your sense of rhythm. I can practice my Pokemon battle skills against visitors at the school festival battle tournament. But movies? I want to get better at Pokemon battles. That's why I enrolled at the trainer school after all. He then thinks to himself, I have to get stronger to face Team Plasma. Oh, Sharon pauses and then tells him, trust me, Hugh, this field trip won't be a waste of your time. Take a good look at that man's Pokemon battle skills. That's Bryson. He'll be playing the role of Bryson Man. Though Hugh says Pokemon battle skills, but the actors only have to act out what the says in the script, right? Leo looks at the script saying, let me see, according to this scenario, the heroine Whitley has to protect an amusement park from the evil villain Bryson Man. Oh, he's the villain? Huh. I wouldn't have assumed he was the villain. Oh, it's that assistant from last story arc. But is that the same director? He doesn't really look the same. The assistant says, scene 1, rolling camera, and I think the director says, okay, let's start filming. 3, 2, 1, action. And I think it's narration that says, a place of never-ending smiles. Everyone's favorite place to play, the amusement park. A threatening shadow looms over this carefree place. The stage is set for trouble. Leo looks on, questioning, what? But where's the set? The wall, floor, and even the box is green. Sharon says, this is what's called a green screen. The background and computer graphics get added to the footage later on. Leo says, oh wow, cool. The assistant says, quiet on the set. The director says, okay, the heroine enters and action. And enter Whitley in full costume saying, I finally found you, Bryson Man. I will protect the peace at this amusement park. All of the students, well, aside from Hugh, are shocked. Maya says, she's having fun. Yukio says, I didn't know Whitley was into acting. Whitley says, Whitley thinks to herself, maybe it's the mask. I feel so free behind it. This is fun. She shouts, I'll fight today and I'll fight tomorrow. I am Fungus Girl. Fungus Girl. Oh my god. Is that what you really get called? Or is that just a coincidence? I'm not really sure. Huh. Who knows? We might not really have a name for that. They might have just given it to her for the manga. Leo says, where is Blake gone off to? While Hugh says, forget about him, Leo. Take a look at that. Bryson now strikes a fiendish smile, saying, go, my Pokemon, unleash your power. As he sends out, that's not Bisharp, that's Ponyard. Ponyard, okay. And Vullaby. Yeah, Ponyard and Vullaby. I don't know why I couldn't remember the name. Ponyard lays into Fungus as Hugh says, oh, I see. The script only has their dialogue in it. The Pokemon battle they're having is real. The director says, that's right. This is a Pokestar studio-style action movie. Whitley thinks to herself, if this movie gets released, maybe N will see it. Then maybe he'll find me and come for me. I miss N so much. She tells Fungus to use Giga Drain, and it saps the life out of Ponyard, downing it instantly. Bryson Man says, a single hit to KO my Pokemon. Hey, you're pretty good, Fungus Girl. Despite that, however, my dark secret arts, I will be victorious. Prepare to be defeated. Fungus Girl says, bring it on. But suddenly, Vullaby is downed. Fungus Girl says, what? But I haven't done anything yet. Only for the figure of a mechanical, Tyranitar to just come into the scene? Okay, is this part of the performance? Fungus Girl says, what's this? The director says, that's Mecha Tyranitar. we're going to use it to film big monsters too. The assistant says, oops, I had a feeling I forgot to turn that thing off. The director says, you idiot. Oh God, how does this guy still have a job? The director says, that machine is programmed to automatically start a battle with any Pokemon it meets. As Mecha Tyranitar grabs Whitley by the cape as she tried to run away and tosses her into the air. The director says, stop filming. But Bryson Man says, no, keep rolling. The director says, but Bryson continues to look on as he gestures to the scaffolding above. As Blake, in full hero regalia, says, hey, Mecha Tyranitar, I won't allow you to go on a rampage. His Duat by his side. Blake says, hero of truth and ideals, Duat kid. All the girls swoon. Maya goes, ooh. Yuki calls out to Blake, while Yukio says, cool. Duat kid says, bring it on. He tells Duat to use Razor Shell, and it slices through Metal Tyranitar like it was nothing as he scoops up Fungus Girl in a very heroic fashion. The director says, all right, cut, as he also bots the assistant in the face. As Bryson goes to leave, Sharon follows saying, Bryson. He gives a bow saying, your commitment to your character was amazing. When things went wrong, you didn't ask us to cut and stop filming. Thanks for being so professional. Bryson says, I'm the one who should be thanking you. It's because of your students that things didn't get out of hand. Sharon says, you remember me? Bryson says, of course. You're one of the trainers who made it into the finals of the Pokemon League. I also remember you coming to my gym for the Pokemon League. Sharon says, with a worried look in his eyes, be honest, I didn't care to dwell on what happened after I got to Driftvale City. The only gym battle I really enjoyed was my first battle at Straton Gym. Bryson takes that in and then questions, been through a lot, haven't you? Why did you decide to Sharon questions, why did you decide to return to the silver screen? Bryson pauses and then says, dreams. Wanted to create dreams for people. Stories created by people and Pokemon together. This is my calling, my talent. That's actually a beautiful way of looking at things. I did kind of question Bryson quitting being a gym leader, but looking at it like that, it's very sweet. It's just like, movies give people a little bit of courage sometimes. Bryson says, to tell the truth, I'm not the only one who's decided to give up their position as gym leader to start a new life. Also, we've been talking about restructuring the 8 Pokemon gym. They're even going to build one in Asperatia, and there'll be a position open there, Sharon says, position of gym leader? I love that his Snivy is already there, all excited for him. Okay, so that's how it happens. Interesting. I wasn't sure if he was already a gym leader or not. As the film is showed off, Blake is striking a pose while Whitley looks frozen, petrified pretty much, while the narration is over the film saying, and thus the amusement park was saved. Our gratitude goes to Fungus Girl and Duat Kid. All the audience clap up a storm while Whitley just looks so apprehensive. As they exit, the girls say, this place is so much fun. I can't believe we got to make a real film. Maya says, I heard the studio was developed by a famous entertainment promoter. White did have a hand in creating it. See, it immediately clicked because I'm just like, it has to be. This had to be the next level for her. Man, this girl, she just keeps getting better. She's gonna be fierce when she gets older. Oh, and she even passes by as the girls are talking, saying, the amazing thing is she's only 3 or 4 years older than us. That means she's around the same age as Mr. Chirin. That's right. He's also the one behind Nimbasa Cities. And as someone arrives in the staff room, they say, hello. Oh, thanks so much for everything. Bryson asked me to hand this back to you. The figure says thank you. And White says to her Volibee, you did great too, Barbara. Of course, the industry life never dies. On the bus, Blake is chatting up a storm with Whitley saying, wow, what a great movie. I think we'll hit it off in real life, just like Fungus Girl and Duat Kid. And since we both got Pokédexes, why don't we get to know each other better? So we can help Professor Juniper with her research. Why don't we go gather more data together sometime soon? Well, Hugh says, don't use the Pokedex to hit on girls. As Leo says, now. As Whitley's just screaming internally, I can't take it anymore, Anne. Take me away from all this. Oh, boy. Oh, I thought that was going to be the end. As the bus arrives back at the school, Sharon tells the students as they disembark, see you tomorrow. Make sure you go straight home, you hear? The kids say, we will. Yuki says, another round, girl? Gather round, girls. Yukio says to another, there's something we need to discuss. One of the girls says, what's that? Yuki says, the school festival is coming up. As the members of the planning committee, we've been brainstorming a bunch of ideas. Maya says, so what do you think about inviting a performer for a live performance? One of the girls says, sounds good, but who? Yukio says, how about Roxy? Ooh, there it is. The girls say, Roxy, that would be awesome. I know, right? So Hugh, pissy as always, comes rushing in saying, hey, get a move on. How long are you going to keep chit-chatting here? Mr. Sharon told us to leave right away, remember? Disperse! Yuki says, so what's the big deal? Hugh says, don't forget the real point of the school festival. Yuki says, you're such a teacher's pet. You shouldn't eavesdrop on girls anyway. Yukio says, don't you have a little sister? You should understand girls then. Maya says, that's right. Yuki says, I feel sorry for your little sister. Oh, Maya says, having a big brother like you. Hugh gets angry, saying, how can you say that? He brings out his vibrava and tells it to use Sonic Boom, which brings up a gust of winds just blowing at the girls. They shriek, and Maya says, you're such a jerk. Leo grabs him, saying, Hugh, that's enough. And as Hugh is dragged away, Yuki calls him a loser. Yukio calls him a baby. Oh, Maya says, get out of our class. While Hugh shouts, you get out. As they walk away, Hugh growls with anger. But then he notices something on the ground. Uh-oh. If I know Hugh's backstory like I do. I actually do know Hugh's backstory, yeah. It's only a little bit. But once he sees what he's going to see, Hugh reaches down and grabs the locket, saying, this must belong to one of those girls. I guess our dress code doesn't forbid wearing shiny trinkets. But something falls out of the locket as he says, oops, what's this? As he looks at the data chip that was inside. Oh boy, things have just gotten a lot more complicated. Alright, and the last chapter of this volume and video is adventure number 7, Unforgettable Memories. Who's that Pokemon? Rillish. Really? Huh. We pick up in... Oh, okay, so Hugh and Leo have a dorm room together. Interesting. As Leo is sitting on the bed with his Deano, opposite Hugh on the other bed, Leo says, hey, Hugh. Hugh says, what? Leo then questions, do you not get along with your little sister? Hugh twitches and then turns, saying, what makes you ask that? Leo says, you got so mad when the girls brought her up, and your house is right here in Asperacia City. But you live in the boys' dorm on campus. So I thought maybe you have problems. That Hugh lies back on the bed saying, it's nothing. Where's Blake? Leo says he's in his room. He always shuts himself in at night. Hugh says, must be nice not having a roommate. Leo says, I don't mind leaving if you want some alone time. Hugh says, it's okay, I wasn't hinting. Hugh then looks at the data chip, thinking to himself, this thing I found inside the pendant. It's a memory card, isn't it? Probably belongs to one of the girls in our class, but what is it? I bet she's looking for it anyway. Seems important. Hugh then brings up his laptop and accesses the chip. As Leah watches, several files come up as Hugh thinks to himself, maybe there's a clue to who it belongs to. Oh, there's a liberation list. And it's not even really listed. But a person is Hugh's sibling, Pokemon Purloin, on the liberation list. Hugh thinks to himself, what's this? Year, blah, blah, blah. Month, date, blah. Because it's just symbols. We cut to 5 years ago in Asperacia City, where young Hugh says, really, Grandpa? I can have these 3 Pokemon? We see a P-Dove, a Purloin, and the heck is that one? Tianimo? Okay. Hugh's grandpa says, that's right. Oh, he's a painter. Oh, that's cool. Hugh thinks to himself, cool, I'll give one of them to my sister for her birthday. His sister does not have a name, does she? His grandpa says, do you like them, Hugh? He says, yes, thank you so much, Grandpa. He looks at the Purloin thinking, my sister's favorite color is purple, so maybe I'll give her the Purloin. But as he brings out the Purloin, his grandpa says, by the way, you'll want to be careful with that purloin. Suddenly he hears a scream from Hugh as the purloin just scratching up his face and then takes off with his bag. And she says, "Oh, hey, my bag." His grandpa says, "Purloin steals things for fun, you know." He says, "I don't think it'll be good present." But then he sees the purloin playing around and then says, "It is cute though. You should like it after all." Well, the grandpa just laughs. Suddenly, the purloin goes bouncing off. As he follows, he says, "Hey, come back here!" And then slips into a building. He's saying, "Oh, that's the trainer school. There must be a lot of strong trainers here." As he enters, he says, "Excuse me, would you mind grabbing that purloin for me?" But he sees nobody there. He says, "Oh." The grandpa says, "Ho, ho, ho. It's spring break at the moment." He says, "What?" His grandpa says, "This is a rural town, but the school has a world-class reputation. There's even been talk about turning the campus into a Pokemon gym and Pokemon trainer school. I'd love to see a young and earnest gym leader come to work here." He picks up the purloin and hands it over to Hugh, saying, "Take good care of it, okay?" Cut to the next day, where everyone inside the house is singing happy birthday. Hugh's sister blows out the candles as all the other girls cheer. Wait, Taro, why the heck is he here? Why are you emceeing a little child's birthday? You'll take any job. Taro says, "And now it's time for presents." His sister looks around thinking, "Who left when the party started? Where is he?" And as we have Hugh with the purloin with a ribbon on his head, he says, "Shoot, I can't put it inside a Pokeball. I tried to tie a ribbon on it, but it ripped it to shreds. This rain's gonna ruin her party. What should I do?" But his sister sees her saying, "Hey, big brother, where were you?" And as she rounds the corner, he says, forget it. Happy birthday." And she hands over the purloin. His sister locks eyes with the purloin, and they're immediately smitten with each other, much to Hugh's shock. She says, "Thanks, Hugh. What a great present." And Hugh gives a sigh of relief. Cut to Team Plasma's castle, where Getsus tells the other sages, "Liberation. To liberate all Pokemon from the grasp of human. That is the future for Unova that we dream of." The other sages say, "Human selfishness has no end. Is it right for humans to keep Pokemon all to themselves? People don't understand the true feelings of Pokemon. They use Pokemon as for mere tools. Pokemon are denied the right to live freely." Getsus says, We must disseminate these truths to the masses, and to make them realize their wrongdoing and move their hearts and minds, we need a figurehead for Team Plasma, a king, someone to be the symbol of our righteousness." The other sages say, "I see, but who will be that king?" Getsus pulls up a live feed of End's room, which, man, what a cool room. Although it might have gotten a little childish for him over time. Getsus says, "Look," as Getsus is fiddling with his cube, as he's washed over by Anthean and Cordonia, who it was explained to me that they're also adopted by Getsus, which was there a particular reason he adopted them? I actually do kind of have to wonder. Was it all for the image? Did he really care about them? I really do question the goings on in Getsus' mind. But Getsus explains to the sages, "His name is Ed, a boy who truly empathizes with Pokemon. His pure and innocent soul is being nurtured by Anthean Concordia." And was that all it? To just nurture N? That's kind of messed up if that's all they were brought in for. In 3 years or so, he will become a fine young man worthy of ascending our throne. And that is when we, Team Plasma, shall rise up to begin our glorious mission of liberating Pokemon from humans. But we need power to fulfill our noble dream. Bronius, we must spread our ideals among the peoples first. Will you take on the role of spokesperson? Bronius says yes. Getsus then says, "Go on. This liberation won't be possible without the presence of a legendary dragon-type Pokemon. I need you to gather information about it. Begin by gathering every historical record you can find in Unova on the subject." Thorm says, "Yes, sir." Getsus then says, "I hear there is a Pokemon like the sun in the deserts of central Unova. It must be protected before it is tainted by human hand. Can you see to that, Ryoku?" Ryoku says, "Yes." Getsus then says, "Gylo, the legendary Pokemon who will prevail over the wind, thunder, and land. Find these 3 Pokemon and add them to our forces." Galio says, "As you command." Getsus then says, rude. This is a war on behalf of the Pokemon. You must not be defeated. Go and search for the legendary Pokemon who brings victory. Victini. Rude says, very well. Getsus then says, and you, Zinzalin. Zinzalin says, all due respect, Master Getsus. I don't understand why Gorm is in charge of searching for the legendary Dragon-type Pokemon. I've done quite a lot of research on the subject already. Allow me to find the legendary. And Getsus, with a smile, an ominous one, says, this is my decision, and you will abide by it. Zinzalin leaves without a word. As Getsus says, we still have plenty of time. There is no need to hurry. Make your preparations carefully so we can liberate every Pokemon. He then turns to the Shadow Triad, saying, that goes for you too. Triad give a nod. Meanwhile, with the young Hugh, he says, let's see. In order to befriend the Purloin, you need to pat it on its head, like this. As he goes to pet the Purloin, it stops his hand. He says, why, you rotten little... But his sister says, you already told me that 1,000,000 times, Hugh. We've been patting its head all along. See? He says, well, I guess it really likes you. And Greca gave it to me. It didn't think it would work out, but it looks like we'll be able to do it after all. The sister says, do what? He says, have Pokemon battles, of course. We'll be able to practice our battle skills with our new Pokemon. The sister says, I don't want to battle. I just want to snuggle with my Pokemon. But Hugh drags her off, saying, come on, Pokemon are born to battle. Put yours in your Pokeball and let's go. Now, where should we stage our battle? Oh, I know. How about the lookout? But as they arrive, they shiver, and his sister says, I'm cold, Hugh. Hugh says, whoa, this place is bigger than I thought. And then he sneezes on her, and his sister says, ew. Hugh says, okay, let's check out Route 19 then. As he runs off, she follows, saying, Hugh. Hugh says, come out, Trapinch, while his sister brings out her Purloin. As the two battle, someone says, oh my. Members of Team Plasma saying, look at that, young children engaging in a vulgar Pokemon battle. The female member says, they don't even understand their Pokemon. Oh my, and his Pokemon is a rare Trapinch. How cheeky of him. He says, is that a problem? The female member says, what you're doing is mean and cruel to those Pokemon. The male says, you must free them at once. As the sister calls out to him, Hugh says, what are you talking about? We're good friends with Trapinch and Purloin. We're not hurting them. The male says, you're too young to understand. The female says, of course, what a shame. As they press forward, Hugh tells his sister to run, but they're blocked off by the Deano and Frillish of Team Plasma. Hugh says, no, I won't let you steal our Pokemon. And as the Pokemon go in, it ends up in a double battle. Hugh tells Purloin to use Scratch, and it uses on a Frillish, and then swipes something from the female trainer, or Plasma member. Hugh says, what did you steal from them? As Purloin hands it over, he says, a member license? Team Plasma. Male Plasma member says, what a brat. While the female says, don't go easy on them, Deano, Frillish. Jeez. The Deano and Frillish start ganging up on the Purloin, and as Hugh's sister sees the Purloin getting knocked around, she cries out, no, come back, Purloin. And as the ball returns to her, the female member grabs it, saying, this Purloin is hereby liberated by Team Plasma. Hugh rushes in, saying, stop it, get back my sister's Purloin. But the Deano friggin' headbutts him in the stomach, downing him instantly. As his sister cries out for him, the Team Plasma members rush off, the female saying, we've liberated our very first Pokemon. While the male says, let's report back to the Seven Sages. As his sister cries over him, he thinks, this is all my fault. My sister told me she wasn't interested in Pokemon battles. She said she just wanted to snuggle with her Pokemon. But I made her come outside and fight. If only I'd been stronger, I never would have lost the battle against them. They wouldn't have been able to steal Purloin from us. Hugh grips the ground, saying, I won't forgive what happened today. I'll never forget it. I'll never forgive you, mark my words. My name is Hugh, Hugh of Asperatia City. Don't you ever forget my name, Team Plasma. 2 years ago, Team Plasma officially began Operation Pokemon Liberation, even staged a raid on the Pokemon League. In present day, Hugh looks at things, saying, there's no doubt about it. This is a record of Team Plasma's mass theft of Pokemon under the guise of liberation. Leo comes over saying, Hugh? Are you alright? Hugh shouts, leave me alone, Leo. Just realize that. He thinks to himself, Team Plasma's liberation began 5 years ago on that day. My sister's Purloin. My memory fits this record to a T. The membership card means the owner of this pendant is a member of Team Plasma, which means one of the girls in my class is a member of Team Plasma. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Oh boy. I feel like he's gonna approach this whole situation all the wrong ways. Oh, we pick up with Colress looking at the new uniforms for Team Plasma, saying, I heard the new uniforms have been finished. Wouldn't it be ironic if these two are the same people who stole the purloin? The grunts say, yes, we're wearing them. Colress says, oh, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. They're sharp looking and durable too. And the design clearly says, we'll resort to force if necessary. We will kill. We will kill. I had a battle yesterday using Genesect, you know. I couldn't wait to test out my colorist machine. As a matter of fact, my test run had relatively good results. I was fighting the international police, so I made a dramatic show of our progress. Our ship has been completed, so maybe the timing was right. Do I have your approval, my friend? Getsu says, very well. Korra says, thank you. Now the new Team Plasma shall declare war upon Unova. Oh, before that, go and ask Zinzilin to step outside for a bit, would you please? Okay, they dropped all pretenses. See, this very much makes Colress out to be quite the villain, but he didn't come off that way when I met him in Sun and Moon. Either they convey him in a very different sense here, or I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have been walking away free in Sun and Moon. Because from what I can tell, he's not really malicious. I don't know. Maybe the manga conveys him as more malicious? I mean, I feel like every other form of media kind of just treats him as a mad scientist who's very callous, but the games seem to treat Colress a little bit nicer for some reason. And I can't really pinpoint why. Well, what's the difference? And Keldeo now attacks just outright. I wonder, was he trying to test them? Or was there more to it than that? But Blake is taking an interest in it, so we'll see. That moment with Bryson was nice too. And getting to see Sabrina and White, I really do hope we find out a little bit more about Sabrina's involvement though. But I'm not holding my breath on that. But there are moves being made to make Cherin a gym leader, which should be nice. See, that's always the perk of being the runner-up in the Pokemon League. It's just like, yeah, you're pretty strong. Would you like to be a gym leader? And I can't wait to get more of White. I don't hate the main characters here, but I kind of miss White. I miss Black and White. I love the relationship. But Hugh, oh boy, he's going to be on the rampage. I know he's supposed to grow as the story goes on, and I'm interested to see what form that takes on, but I don't know. I feel like he's going to get in the way more than anything, but we'll see. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.